And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at Expancity. This is a city building game in which you're building skyscrapers. You're not knocking them down or blowing them up. You're building skyscrapers in a city, and you're trying to build residential buildings, commercial buildings, and to score the most points by placing buildings in strategically different places. Hey, maybe I want to be next to a church. Maybe I want to be next to the bar. What's the best places to build your buildings? Let's check it out. In this game, the object of the game is to get the most points. So how do you go about doing that? Each player is going to have a whole pile of buildings that they're going to have. These different buildings made up of different floors. You're going to start with 6 of those floors at the beginning of the game in your personal supply, and then the rest of your buildings are going to be in a reserve. Each player is also going to start with 2 tiles, and these tiles can be different types. Most of the tiles are commercial tiles or residential tiles, but there's also going to be tiles that will modify those tiles, like this park here or this church. So you're going to start with 2 of these tiles. On your turn, the first thing that you will do is you will place a tile adjacent to, so the city hall starts on the board, you'll place a tile adjacent to that, and as the game goes by, players will be placing tiles and forming sort of a grid here, a city grid, and just building the different tiles. At the end of your turn, you'll draw 2 tiles and keep 1 to bring your hand back up to 2 tiles. After that, players have 3 actions. You have these 6 buildings that you start with in your supply. For one of your 3 actions, you can just add more buildings to your supply. So I could, for my first 3 actions, just add building, building, building. So now I have 9 in my supply. You can also build on your turn in an empty lot. Once one is in an empty lot, you cannot put another one there, so another player would have to go somewhere else. Each lot, once it has a building in, that's the color of that lot. Now there are rules when you're building these. First of all, when you build, you can only have 3 incomplete buildings. So if green has 3 buildings like this, as the game is going by, they cannot say, ooh, I'm going to start one here. You can only have 3 incomplete buildings in play. Secondly, you cannot build higher than your lowest completed building of that type, or your highest completed building of that type. So you have to respect the heights of the different buildings. Residential buildings can be 1 to 3 floors. Commercial buildings can be 4 or higher. So when I'm building a residential building, before I can build another residential building, so let's say I'm here and I want to build another residential building, I would have to finish this one first. Now I have a 1-4 residential building, so now in the future I can build a second residential building here, a 2-level residential building. When I finish that, I can build a 3. I can't build a 5-level commercial building until I have a level 4 commercial building done, and when that one is finished, then I'm able to build a level 5 commercial building, etc. And so you have to figure out which heights you're going to build your buildings. You can also only build 1-4 per building. So if it's green's turn, they can do this as one action. They could do this as one action, but then they couldn't put another one on each of these. And in fact, this one's not legal because they haven't finished the level 2 residential. Now you can finish a building at any point on your turn if it's legal, and then you will score for that building. Each building is going to score. So take a look at this residential building. Each floor starts with a base of 1. You will then get -1 for each empty lot that's next to you. That's commercial or residential. So this would be -1 if that's there. It's not. And then you'll get any bonuses. This one here gives a +1 bonus to residentials that it's next. So 1 plus the base of 1 is 2. I then multiply that times the number of floors, and I get 2 times 1, 2 points. Not a lot of points, but hey, it's some points. This commercial building is actually going to score none currently because it's 1 for the base of the floor, and then it's next to a -1 spot. So 1 minus 1 is 0. 0 times 4 is 0 points. But let's say I knew that was going to happen, so I placed it here. This would be 1 plus 1. That would be 2 times 4. That would be 8 points. And you can set yourself up if you have a lot of these different bonuses that are out there. There's even +2 bonuses and things like that, and you can get a lot of points by being in the right place at the right time. Like for example, if this +2 was over here and this +1 was there, And I built this building here. Now I have 3 plus 1, 4 times 4, that's 16 points. Another thing is when you finish a building, you will draw 2 of these contract cards and pick 1 to keep. These contract cards are going to give you points if you do something over the course of the game. If you finish it, just show it. So complete at least 1 residential building next to each bank. There's 2 banks in the game. I know what's in the game because a card shows me what all the buildings are by symbol. Control both a residential and commercial building next to a single school. I don't have to have those completed. I just have to control them. If that happens, I'll show this and score 9 points. Hang out, complete a residential building next to a bar. Shared spaces, there's 3 modifying tiles or an uninterrupted vertical or horizontal line. So there's all different ways to score points. They go as high as 15 points, as low as 3 points, and you get these every time you finish a building. So at the end of your turn, like I said, you will draw 2 tiles, pick 1 to keep, and it goes to the next person's turn. When every tile has been played on the board somewhere, the game will end, and then you will score. At the beginning of the game, you're going to pick 3 of these randomly, and so in this case, at the end of the game, if this one was picked, whoever has the tallest tower will get 12, or the most completed residential buildings, or the most properties next to parks, or the most contracts, or the most total properties, or the most commercial completed. So these points will go out to whoever got them. If it's multiple people who wins it, you'll split them, and then you'll add up the final scores. Whoever has the highest score is the winner. I want to start off with these. These are thin, and these ribbons bend a little easily. And the reason I'm showing you these first is because these are one of only 2 component problems I have with the game. And this is a minor thing. The bigger component problem is this bag. It barely holds all the tiles, and it's really hard to pull tiles out of. I wish the bag was bigger, and I'm going to replace mine with a bigger bag. But that's all I'm going to complain about because these buildings are amazing. They come in this plastic container like this, and then you have the different roofs that you have here. You have 2 different roofs for commercial buildings, round and a pointed one. You have a roof for residential buildings, and this stuff is very durable. These are great. They feel good. It's easy to pull them off, put them together. They feel good. When the building is done, it has a really beautiful look. The tiles are clear. I mean, they don't look fantastic, but they're easy to tell apart. They have symbology on them, and the whole thing looks really nice, but the tiles are kind of just there for you to place the buildings on and just have these gorgeous, if I manage to pull off, a tower like that, it just looks really neat, right? And you'll see towers all over the board as the game goes by. It's a lot of fun. So just the way this game looks with a great box and everything, just fantastic production for the most part. This game is a fairly simple game. There's not a lot of rules. And yet you'll find yourself, or at least I found myself, constantly reminding people, remember you can only have 3 buildings in play at a time. Remember residential can't be higher than 3. Remember you can't build a level 2 residential till you build a level 1 residential. Remember you can't build a commercial 5 till you build a commercial 4, and so forth. They're not that complicated, but it will take you a bit to get the hang of them, I think, at least in my experience. But that's okay, because this game is really good. I was very impressed with this one. I've already shown you the production, but it's just a simple, fun, excellent game. I have one thing I don't like about the game, and that is I don't think the game, and this is a minor thing, and it's fixable by me. I don't like if you draw your initial 2 tiles and they're modifier tiles. Now, sure, you could place a modifier tile out on the board, and then your first 3 actions you get extra buildings, but you need to get a jump on building something, and it's just not fun if you can't do that on turn 1. So I just make a house rule that if you draw 2 modifier tiles, you redraw until you get 1 residential or 1 commercial at least. Now the residential versus commercial thing is interesting because residential cards you can get done faster. Commercials are way more points usually, but residentials you can get done faster and you get some of those cards. And then once you get those contract cards, you can start scoring points that way. When you first get your contract cards, you sit there and go, are these even possible? Complete a building that's next to these 2 modifier tiles, which may or may not be next to each other, but you'll find you can manipulate the board to make them like that. You'll watch what other people are doing, not too much, but you're trying to set things up. When I first read the rules and I read about the empty lots, I thought, oh, that's going to be hard. Empty lots are going to be killing you. There's very rarely an empty lot. People are going to be grabbing up the empty lots as quickly as they can, but not too quickly because remember, you can only have 3 buildings under construction. If at the beginning of the game I decide to start with a commercial building, it's not going to be until turn 4 that I'm going to be able to finish that building. Meanwhile, someone else might have finished a residential building and got a card and got some extra points this way and kind of got a jump up on me. And I like that. I also like the visual effect that this game has. So there's definitely some in-your-face moments. You can put a negative modifier next to someone else. Someone else can put a cool spot to put a building, and you slide in there right next to them. They're also fighting for those end game goals. I wish there was a few more of those, by the way. But just like I said, the production plus the fun of the game, I think the whole building a skyscraper and building it physically is a great one. That's why I like Manhattan so much. But this one is really fun. It gives you the idea and accomplishment of, look what I have built. You know, you have that. But it's an interesting game back and forth. Scales well too. Just a lot of fun. I recommend this one a lot. Expancity. Dice Tower Judgment. Excellent.